Good evening to all of you. As part of my YouTube channel called Perú, Orgullo de España, this video is being filmed in English so that my message can be got across the widest community possible. In this case, I'm focusing on the English-speaking part of the United States of America, but also of the world. As an English teacher, I would like to give this talk in English, focusing on some particular words which I find interesting. As a history and geography teacher, I will focus on some historical landmarks which have shaped the nation of the United States of America. Let me start with the platitude. History is narrated by winners. It is self-evident that since the American inhabitants defeated the Mexican army in 1848, they have always tried to narrate a different part of the story, right? For instance, they always say that they were the good ones, people who were granted the territory of Texas by God's desire. There was a kind of will which obviously was not real. They took advantage of having been invited by Mexico to that part of the world. They betrayed Mexico's confidence, and they actually took part of that territory, first declaring the state of Texas as independent from the rest of the 13 colonies of the country, and later by obviously turning it into one more state of the United States of America. The reason why Mexico was granted that huge part of the world was because obviously Spain had passed it on to them. When Mexico became independent from Spain, they were granted nearly 2 million square kilometers of what is today the United States of America. We are talking about approximately 13 states, most of them southwestern states such as California, Nevada, Texas, obviously, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, well, obviously, and the remaining states surrounding the ones I just mentioned. Hollywood has always got a proclivity for showing and depicting Mexicans in a very poor manner. They're always the evil guys in films. They are portrayed as drug dealers, people without any real integrity. But that is not the real thing. I mean, obviously, Mexicans were the legitimate dwellers of that part of the country. The United States simply declared a war that they knew that they would not be able to lose. So they took advantage of Mexico's weakness by declaring the war to them. They provoked Mexico by annexing the state of Texas to their territory, and obviously Mexico had no other way but to declare war back to the United States of America. The network of Spanish missions scattered across the territory of not only the original Mexican territory, but also some other parts of the country, such as parts of Louisiana. Obviously, we're talking about St. Augustine in Florida. They served as a means to defend religious freedom. In fact, they also prevented some tribal groups from annihilation. For example, the Pueblo Indians are very thankful to Spain for having defended them against the American oppressor. There was a delegation of Pueblo Indians who came to Spain in the first half of the 20th century in order to thank the Spanish government for having prevented them from being completely annihilated by American colonists. So these missions served to protect the integrity of many Indian groups. Mexico, upon their independence, they made a terrible mistake, very costly to them, which was to remove that network of missions scattered across their territory, removing the Spanish priests and the network of assistants, friars, staff, in one word. And instead of that, they accepted granting rights to American colonists coming from the other part of the country, that is to say the 13 original colonies and Louisiana, granting them the access to establish in Texas. They were so naive as to believe that that those colonists were going to convert into Catholicism. They were going to pledge allegiance to the Mexican authorities and learn the Spanish language. They made them sign a commitment, a document, which is well documented, by the way, in which they made them pledge allegiance to the Mexican flag, Mexican country, Mexican authorities, in one word. But obviously, as we know, reality was very different. Disparaging remarks were made from the very beginning against Mexico by those American colonists. They said that obviously they were not going by any means to pledge allegiance to Mexico or any Mexican flag. And they also stated privately that, they were going to try and declare the state independent as soon as possible, which tragically for Mexico happened there was an attempt in 1836. Actually, between 1836 and 1845, the state was kind of independent, but was not part of the United States. However, when there was a movement to annex that state to the rest of the country in 1846, as we said before, there was an outburst of war. War broke out between the two countries purposely in order to not only get hold of that territory, which they had in mind, but also to take advantage of that illegal war to take hold of the other states existing between Texas and the Pacific Ocean. There was a purposeful view by American politicians in order to deprive Mexico of that land and to obtain a country open to both oceans, both the Atlantic and the Pacific. So they couldn't wait until they actually took advantage of that possibility of you know, annexing that land by force. By that time, the American Senate was divided between the Annexionists and the other neutral politicians. Polk, who was going to be the American president, was the one driving, the force towards the war. He wanted that territory, and he was very interested in making the United States gain it. We can review some remarks made by Horace Grant, American general, who said that that event was the clearest event of one country taking advantage of another one, in a word, robbing some territory from another one without any legitimate reason or in a nutshell. I would like to conclude this video by shedding some light on the fact that the United States were not the legitimate owners of that territory. They were successful in the adventure of the war because they knew that they couldn't lose the war. I mean, there was no way that they were gonna lose it anyway. So they took advantage of it, and they declared war to Mexico, and that is in itself an immoral event. When one country knows that the other one is too weak to divide it in order to sustain a credible force for war, obviously that is not the best way to act, and that needs to be ascertained. It needs to be remembered in today's lesson of history. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you want to make any remarks or comments, please use the section below, and I hope to be able to record some more videos in English in the near future to shed some more light upon some other significant events of history. I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye-bye.